Hello, everyone. If you're having trouble figuring out what is going on in Ukraine right now, first of all, you're not alone. Second, here's a free tip if you only have time and energy to peruse one or two sources per day. Read what Putin said and then flip it. Usually, what's actually going on is the exact opposite of what he says. Let me show you an example. So here's Putin's response to yesterday's devastating strike by Ukrainian armed forces against a Russian military airbase in Berdyansk, during which, among other things, they destroyed 9 helicopters. Big deal, considering how much a military helicopter is worth. So he said that this is not going to change anything, that giving Russia long-range missiles was a mistake on the part of the United States, and that this will only prolong the agony for Ukraine. Let's break that up. One of the conditions for U.S. giving Ukraine these missiles was that Ukraine was not to use them on any objects on Russian territory. So even though Ukraine has every possible reason and every possible justification to attack military objects within Russia, they can't use these long-range missiles for that purpose. Second, I don't see how that was a mistake, considering how well Ukrainians used these missiles just as soon as they got them. You know, just how well they carried out that operation. I don't see it as a mistake. That's looking pretty good. And finally, agony is when somebody is dying. And I think Putin is a little bit confused about who is actually doing the dying. Namely, it's not Ukraine that's dying. Ukraine is not in agony. Ukraine is alive. It's not well, but it's alive, and it's definitely kicking. But what's dying are Russian soldiers that he keeps throwing at Ukraine because he doesn't know any better. So here you go. We looked at one headline, and we're able to basically summarize what's going on. This piece is in Reuters, and I strongly suggest that you find it and read it in its entirety. So one of the things that Russia had announced was pulling out its intention to pull out of the nuclear test ban treaty. And this article does a really good job breaking down all of the information about the treaty, what it entails, and why it's important that Russia had declared this. Here are some of the highlights talking about the ratification of the treaty, who signed, which nuclear nations signed it, okay? Which nations signed but not ratified, and which nations refused to sign. Not surprisingly, India, Pakistan, and North Korea are not jumping quite in. As of right now, the treaty is not legally enforced. However, the fact of its existence and that so many countries have jumped in, including so many nuclear nations, is very important. Since sort of the conception of this treaty, there have been no nuclear testing. Not a single country has carried out a nuclear test explosion since the 1990s, except for North Korea, which had a series of tests in 2017. So, by pulling out of the treaty, Russia is basically saying, we're going to start blowing up nuclear bombs again as a test. But also by doing so, they can justify the use of nuclear weapon sort of as a shot across the bow against other countries as a threat for helping Ukraine. So, like I said, find this article. It's on Reuters. Read it and basically see what it's talking about when describing all of the various aspects and details of this treaty and why Russia's threat to pull out has serious implications.